Welcome to Dare, the show for startup leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs who dare to shape the future. Dare is brought to you by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, OEN, and Darwaft, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. The Dare podcast is excited to welcome Kate Woods, and she has her own consulting agency, Kate Woods Executive Solutions. She's an operational strategist that specializes in empowering women and BIPOC-owned small businesses. Her tagline is that she transforms chaotic operations into streamlined systems. So her mission is really to cultivate thriving businesses. She's done that with a number of different ways of working with startups, including being part of the Foundry in Corvallis, that is a co-working space for startups down there. So happy to talk further with founders and startup leaders from further in Southern Oregon or south of Portland. So we'd love to hear more about your journey, Kate. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to have a chance to talk with you.
Absolutely. So tell us about you. Where did you come from and what are you doing?
Yeah, so I am an Oregonian through and through. Grew up in Salem, spent a lot of my childhood here in Corvallis, and so I was super happy to come back down here where my grandparents' farm was. Lived in Portland for a long time, and lived in Northeast, worked in the Southeast, and went to school in Clackamas. So definitely knew the metro pretty well. And was able to take all of my experiences working for many different organizations and industries and transform that into the ability to help small businesses with their operations. All of those fingers on the keyboard things that bog small business owners down and keeping them from being the visionary in their businesses. I was able to take my marketing and sales and operations background and turn that into my own small business.
Fantastic. Yeah. So how long have you been doing this kind of consulting with startups and with small company leaders?
Yeah, so I actually left my full-time amazing W-2 work in November of 23. But, the work that I've been doing now, I've been doing since I was about 17 and entering the workforce, but been able to do it on my own for the last about year and a half, serving a wide variety of different clients.
So you serve a wide variety of different clients, but I know in the intro that you gave me, you specialize in helping women and people of color to really get their businesses off the ground. So tell us more about that area of specialization.
Yeah, so I am calling with Lower Owa. We are from Northern Washington, pretty much as northern as you can get before you hit Canada. And so I was adopted. And so being able to connect with my tribe and learn more and see how much I was connected, even though I wasn't raised in that culture, really showed that open doors for me to meet more business owners who have had similar experiences. And I found that I had a special skill set to be able to uplift their voices and being able to do the spreadsheets and the things that make most people's eyes gloss over make me really excited.
Wow, that's
Um,
great.
and so I was able to identify that that was just such a need. When I first started my business, I thought I'm going to work for businesses on the East Coast so I can work at 6 a.m. I can get off by 3. I'll have my whole afternoon to play in my garden. And there's all of my clients are within an hour of me here in
Oh,
the valley,
fantastic. Yeah.
which, everything else in my life, all my board work and nonprofit work is all with local, food systems, local, shop local, all of that. So it makes sense that that's the way that my business went. And through networking, I was able to just find that this specific community did not have as much support in the online virtual space as just general. And so I said, hey, I have a personal connection here. It's something I'm passionate about. Why don't I plug in here? And it's been a beautiful connection.
So I'll ask you kind of a leading question.
Yeah.
Why is it important that companies and startups led by minority voices or by women succeed? That's an obvious answer, but I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. I think In so many different ways, the history, the passion, the perspective can really be holistic
Hmm.
and be able to touch and reach more people. And, I think that there is, I mean, anyone that's going to start a business is passionate, right? No one's going to put them and themselves into the sweat equity, the financial equity, the exhaustion, unless they believe in what they're doing. But it's so important that we have that well rounded view of people being able to come from various life experiences and use that because my top core values that we succeed together. And so when we're able to collaborate and listen to other experiences outside of our own, it just makes us all stronger.
Got it. Right, right. So it makes us all stronger. It's a different perspective. And I mean, research demonstrates that when you have homogeneous teams, you have very different results than when you have heterogeneous teams.
Mhm.
Diversity matters. Diverse
Mhm.
voices at the table make the team better, make the product better, make the world better.
Mhm.
So you're part of that momentum. So tell us about some of your experiences down there. Like what companies, I don't know if you can name your clients, but tell us about some of the companies that you've helped to succeed. Even if you can't tell us their names, tell us some of those stories.
Yeah. So one of my favorite stories is actually a company that completely pivoted.
Mm,
So they are a very creative, they're in the creative space. They are beautiful game designers and experience makers.
mm,
And when we first got together, they had this idea of what they wanted to do and why they were bringing me on to help this section of their business succeed. And quickly after we worked together, they realized that wasn't it for various reasons. And they pivoted and they changed their whole structure and were able to come out with this. They shift the focus from what they thought their primary business was, and then the, kind of like this cool add on that they did. And it's completely flip flopped. And so their add on is now making such a difference for like they've partnered with the Girl Scouts and through the pandemic and afterwards like they've been able to make a real impact on like these children's mental health and coming into businesses that are struggling and building teams and
mm,
partnering with local museums and getting people excited about where they live and educated about their history of their community and engaging people in such a passionate way. And so it makes me really emotional that I got to be a part of that journey of them being able to find out what their true calling was and what
mhm.
their passion was and help them be able to pivot. And since then, they're doing so many amazing things right now that it's really beautiful to see. But being able to help my clients identify truly what is their passion, what is their purpose, and seeing that difference once they put their energy there instead of all these things that we should be doing,
Mhm.
or this is like the path that we thought was it. Being able to pivot that has just been really, really impactful for me and our community.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, some people who haven't done startups over and over don't realize that the pivot or the change in course is pretty standard.
Mhm.
Like if you look back at like Slack, for example, Slack started as a side project inside a company that was actually doing games. They were developing
Yeah.
a game called Glitch. And then that they developed this internal messaging tool because they needed a way to talk to each other.
Mhm.
And somehow that became more successful than the game itself. So you
Yeah.
never quite know. You put a bunch of smart people in a room, they may not end up in the place they were originally pointed, but they will often end up with something marvelous.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, kind of the beauty of me being connected with Foundry Collective and my business is that through Foundry Collective, we serve Oregon, especially rural entrepreneurs
Mhm,
with co-starter classes. So I've had quite a few client or potential clients come to me and say, "Hey, I have this idea. I really want to do this." And I say, "Cool. I really want to help you with this, but you're not far enough along yet that like you're going to be spending a lot more time or money working with me as a one-on-one client. but I
Yeah.
have this cool resource with this nonprofit that I'm a part of to be able to offer you like the co-starters core. We just had a cohort kick off this morning where I have 10 entrepreneurs from all over Oregon joining me to find that legwork so that they can kind of learn that pivot before they even launch. But I did warn them, like what happened with me, what I thought I was going to be doing a year and a half ago and what I'm doing now is two totally separate things. Well, it's in the same realm,
Hmm.
but the growth and the pivot has been, a really great journey to be on. But being able to learn about that pivot ahead of time, because we all are going to go through it at some point, whether it's our ideal client, how we think a process or a policy is going to play out, how we think our communication and our client experience is going to be, and having the tools in our toolbox or the coaches in your toolbox to guide you through that pivot is going to be so key.
Right, right. Well, so you mentioned that you're part of the foundry down there in Corvallis as well. So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so Foundry Collective is a nonprofit that serves rural Oregon. It has three legs. So it has the Corvallis Foundry, which is our co working space where I'm the community manager. So I get to physically be there
Hmm.
with people who either don't want, it's a co working space. So people who don't want to work from home or entrepreneurs that need a space. We also have Reinventing Rural, which is our education piece. That's where we partner with co starters and fencing. That's where Business Oregon gives us a lot of flexibility to go out and actually teach classes, provide technical assistance. And then we have Kiva Oregon. We are actually the first rural Kiva hub, or first Kiva hub that focuses on rural communities here in the United States, providing 0% financing loan options for startups and entrepreneurs.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful partnership with what I do for more established businesses. We have that technical assistance and that support to get people started.
So you mentioned rural entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
So tell us more about rural entrepreneurs. What's the difference between them and, say, urban entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I think, rural, especially here in Oregon, have, different barriers. Access to capital, access to support and networking is one of the big ones. Just from purely a logistics standpoint, it's already time consuming to be an entrepreneur, to have a passion baby idea and grow it into a fledged business. And then if you add in that your closest, populated area could be hours away, it just adds some barriers into resources of funding, resources of education, of support, so being able to bring that in different, whether it's virtually or bringing people together in communities that might not otherwise meet each other is a big key in breaking down those barriers.
Got it. Got it. So you're empowering people who don't have access to things. You're the glue between people and the companies and the markets that they're seeking. And
Mhm.
you're a functional kind of chief operating officer in a box. That's what I'm hearing, that you're able to do all of these kind of jack of all trades roles for startups.
In the ideal world, yes, I would, I definitely try to balance all those hats.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it sounds like a lot to carry. What would you like to see in the startup community that you aren't seeing today?
Oh, that's a really great question. I think what I would like to see most is more entrepreneurs getting the abundance mindset earlier on. There's room at the table for all of us, and I think that so many people, and hit that like almost imposter syndrome moment of like, why am I going to be the one that succeeds? How am I going to be the one that does this when so many people fail within their first couple years? What makes me different? And I really want people to just take it to heart that they are what makes their business different.
Hmm.
You can put 30 realtors in a room, they're not going to share personalities, they're not going to share approaches, they're not going to share
Yeah.
their ideal client. They all, there's room for all of them,
Hmm.
and that applies in the startup space too. And that, there is enough for all of us to come in and to not just make your own business succeed, but dedicate yourself to supporting other small businesses, other ideas, other startups, whether that's, a like and a follow and a share sometimes, if it's becoming a customer of them or an advocate for them, that there is really enough room at the table for all of us. So we should cheer each other on.
Oh, that's a fantastic sentiment. I really like that, to cheer each other on. Yeah, and I know that Oregon Entrepreneur Network, one of the sponsors of this
Yeah.
podcast, does that exact thing. They cheer all sorts of entrepreneurs on across the state of Oregon and across the
Mhm.
Pacific Northwest. What other organizations have you seen that have been helpful in that regard?
Yeah, the Oregon Entrepreneur Network does an amazing job with that. I've been very lucky to have been able to go to some of their, their pub talks and their pitch sessions. Some of my clients have done their pitch sessions, which have been really, really fun to watch. I think that like the Northwest Native Chamber, they do a
Mhm.
really, really good job of connecting Native business owners with each other and being able to bring that abundance mindset. Pretty much every local chamber across Oregon that I've had the pleasure of working with has been very, very good about that. Of course, Foundry Collective, I'm biased.
Yeah.
So I think that we're fabulous. I'm also on the directors for the Women to Women Network. We serve not just entrepreneurs and small business owners, but also, large business owners, corporate leadership, all the way to like people who are just starting their career and not quite knowing where they're going yet, or you're not quite in a management, a titled leadership position, though I do strongly believe that anyone working in any capacity or volunteering in capacity can be a leader, but without that title leadership. All of those organizations are ones that I spend a lot of my time with, and I'm very, very lucky to do so. And I know that there's also some really amazing ones. I just met Molly with Sacred Fire Marketing, and she is just a powerhouse. I don't know how she does it, but she's brought me into a lot of Launch Mid Valley's activities as well as her own company's activities. And so there's a lot of change makers that are using their business voice now that they're out of that startup phase and they're these established names across our state to highlight and bring along the startups and the new entrepreneurs. And I think that's a really important point of that. Like once you get past that phase, your job's not done. It's time to go and mentor and put your hand back and bring somebody up along with you.
Right. That's fantastic. Yeah. And so many great entrepreneurs are serial entrepreneurs. They've done
Mhm.
it before, they'll do it again so they can help other people to see that vision as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, where are you going next? What's next in your journey?
So I'm actually really, really excited. I'm working with a couple of people. I'm kind of revamping everything I'm doing right now. Like I said, it's all about that pivot. And I have learned that I can task a lot of the fingers on the keyboard things that I have been able to support my clients with. I can actually bring up other people who are trying to get into this online support space that I'm in, and I can mentor and teach them how to do that part so that they have those skills to build their own business and create their own generational wealth. And I get to go deeper with my clients now. So
Mm,
I'm now being able to start being more intentional with the visions of my clients, going deeper on what that means, and being able to diversify the tools in their toolbox to support those without taking off more time out of their, off their plate. So, time is so, so valuable, the number one resource that we all have.
right.
And so I'm really excited that within this next quarter, I'm going to be able to release some new things to be able to give my clients some time back and go deeper with their next set of goals.
Wow, that's really fantastic. Yeah. Well, I'll ask you a related question, our final question of the interview, which is
Yeah.
what do you dare to dream?
Ooh, I dare to dream that this is going to work. Um, I dare to dream that I get to continue to be in this position, that I get to support other people's dreams, and I get to challenge other people to dare to dream, if I will, and that I get to continue to love my community, give back to my community, and also, not just in my business sense, but I get to use my skills in the nonprofit world as well. I serve on 3 different boards and 4 different fundraising committees. And so, and the two, my business and my nonprofit lives can really be all one. And yeah, I dare that this is just going to continue to work, and I just going to continue to grow as a person and as a entrepreneur and hopefully as a mentor.
Fantastic. Gosh. Well, thank you so much for sharing your vision and your time today, Kate. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate being here so much. I absolutely love the podcast. I'm such a podcast addict, so it's a real honor to be able to be here today.
Great. Thanks to our guests today for their insights into the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We wish you all the best in your startup journey. The Dare Show is brought to you by the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network and by Darwaf, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. Visit us at oen.org or at darwaf.io. Thanks again for listening. Till next time.